To this video presentation about Metropolitan Community Church Sydney. Next half hour or so, we hope you can get a little bit of an insight as to who we are as a church. We'll be sharing some personal stories and telling you a little bit about our church, and hopefully inviting you to come and be part of this exciting fellowship. Metropolitan Community Church Sydney is part of a worldwide denomination of churches that was founded some 30 years ago in Los Angeles by the Reverend Troy Perry. Was founded with a specific outreach to the gay, lesbian, transgendered and bisexual community, and has a very simple message that you are all God's children created in God's image. Throughout the next half hour or so, various people will share with you of their experiences and what it means to be part of this church. This is a very exciting fellowship. We see the future as something to really be embraced. We look at our past as part of a wonderful journey that has been leading us for the last 30 years into a relationship with our God. God bless you all, and I hope that as a result of seeing this video, you will truly come to understand that you are all God's children.
Hello, my name is Robbie George, and as a reasonably new recruit to MCC in Sydney, I have the pleasure today to interview the senior pastor of MCC Sydney, the Reverend Greg Smith, who I have had the pleasure of interviewing some time ago in a gay and lesbian radio station. Hello, Greg, how are you?
Hi, Robbie, it's good to be here tonight.
Good. One of the questions I probably didn't get to talk to you about the last time we spoke, and that was at the gay and lesbian radio station, Out FM, was what makes MCC so different as a Christian church from any other Christian church, for example?
I think the key difference is that we accept that all people are created in God's image, and we go that one step further than most other Christian churches, in that we say that our sexuality is a God-given gift, and that no matter what that sexuality is, be it heterosexuality or homosexuality or bisexuality or transgendered sexualities of various kinds, that they are part of who we are, and that we are called to celebrate that and to live that out in a loving, caring and nurturing way within our community.
Okay. Now, MCC Sydney obviously is just a branch of the MCC Church from Los Angeles, and it's quite a large organisation. And in fact, we had the pleasure of talking about the MCC office once upon a time in the Out FM office, which I understand that was your office at one time.
That's
as well,
right,
which I think was quite funny.
Yeah.
I think my broadcasting was from your desk, as I understand.
It was in the heat.
I was a bit concerned about what the walls would tell us. You've been pastor in MCC Sydney for how long now?
7 years now. This time round, I was lay pastor a little bit before that, but this is my 7th year now as a full-time pastor here.
Okay, so you've probably seen quite a few changes.
There's been a few changes, and there's a lot more to come.
Well, yes, I understand that there's some very dramatic changes coming up in the next year in the millennium. We have a new church, I understand, that we're moving to.
Yes, we've decided to purchase an old Christian Science church, which will take us to that next step. We'll be the first MCC in the country to own our own church, and one of the few, if only, gay and lesbian organisations to own their own property. It'll give us a colossal resource that we can use to grow our outreach to our community. The other exciting thing with the new millennium too is the launch of our new benevolent organisation, MCC Welfare Services, in which we'll be focusing on the specific needs of the gay, lesbian, transgendered communities.
Okay, now the MCC Church gets itself involved in a number of welfare programs, from what you were saying.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand on that, just as to what sort of programs MCC does perform?
Well, over the last 20 years or so, MCC's been involved in various ways. We were involved in the founding of Ancali and Community Support Network, which are now two of the major HIV AIDS care organisations in this city, in Sydney. We run our own welfare programs. We run a lunch program here every Sunday for people on low incomes. We run a welfare shop, and from that shop we also supply much needed household goods like beds and furniture to people on no incomes. Since we started that, we've supplied services directly to over 700 people now, and the next step that we take will be empowering us to get even bigger and better in that welfare area, in particular addressing the needs of our own community, which are often overlooked.
When you say your own community, obviously it's the gay and lesbian community. Does the MCC in Sydney perform services to people who are not gay and lesbian?
MCC in all places around the world is open to all people. However, our prime focus at this time is within the gay, lesbian, transgendered and bisexual community. And that's simply because there are so many people in that community who, first of all, feel that God doesn't love them, who secondly are ignored and rejected by many other churches and other community organisations. So while we're open to anyone being part of our fellowship, we do have that primary focus at the moment.
Okay. We talked briefly just a few moments ago about the new church on the other side of Sydney from where we are currently. And we expect to move in the millennium, which is incredible as I see it. Where would you see MCC Sydney, for example, in, say, 5 years' time? What are your hopeful plans for the church?
Well, plans and dreams all get woven together. I suppose my dream is that we will continue to grow and to be a major force to be reckoned with, particularly within the Christian community here in Sydney. That will be a church that challenges many of the other churches, particularly those with bigoted and narrow-minded understandings, which particularly affect our young people. I hope and pray that we will increase in numbers, but also, more importantly, that we'll increase in ministry, and that we will become a centre for excellence in the provision of services, and also a centre for excellence in the provision of love and hope and a bit of a hope for the future for our communities.
Sounds good to me. You've been listening to the Reverend Greg Smith tell us a little bit about the duties that he performs as the Senior Pastor for MCC Sydney, and thank you very much for listening and watching.
Hi, I'm Jeff Ostling. I'm here to interview Robert Lashmore about the musical life of MCC Sydney. Robert, how long have you been involved with MCC?
Jeff, I've been involved with MCC probably for about 3.5 years now. I first started coming here in May 1996 and became a member 3 months after that, during which time I noticed the music ministry and was itching to get my fingers on the keyboard, so I asked and they let me start playing the keyboards for service, and I've been doing it ever since.
Right, that's good. And what have been the highlights of the time here at MCC?
Oh, well, 2 years ago in 1997, we had the World General Conference of the United Fellowship here in Sydney, and I wrote a theme song for that, which unfortunately turned out not to be the theme song, but was adopted by Marcia Stevens, who sang it at the opening night at the Town Hall.
Very nice indeed, and I believe it's been sung overseas a lot as well.
It has been presented overseas in quite a few MCC churches. And then 2 years later I got the opportunity to go overseas and actually present that myself for World General Conference in LA. And just getting to compare notes with people overseas as compared to here and see what we're doing right here really reassures me that I think that things are going wonderfully here.
Yeah, and tell us about you've been involved with the Christmas Eve services at the Sydney Town Hall.
Christmas Eve services every year at the Town Hall. We have a wonderful service for over 2,000 people. We fill the place. We have brass bands. We have the enormous Sydney Town Hall organ playing. We have the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir singing. We have our own gospel group singing. And it's just a marvellous time, and it's very special for the music ministry.
And you're also involved with playing at the services here, aren't you?
I play on the first and the third Sundays.
And have a little to do with the choir?
Something like that. And with the choir, yes, I do attend some of the choir rehearsals, but primarily I see my role is playing the keyboards.
That's great, yes. And what do you think, what's the best thing about being involved with MCC Sydney?
Oh, the best thing about being involved, it has to be looking out over the crowds. You see the faces of people while you're playing the music, and you can just tell that God moves in the congregation in mysterious ways, and I think the music helps that because you can see in people's faces